Hi, my name's Cheri. Welcome to my Stampin' Up! Studio. I'm taking a break from filming my retreat because that's lots of cards and lots of editing and lots of putting it together. So in between all of those videos, I'm doing a series of little quick cards, but I'm trying to make them all super cute, not just stamp and stick. So I'm trying to add some fun elements to them. So the card I'm going to do now, I'm going to use a set from the January to June mini catalog. If you don't have a copy of this and you are in the US, I'd be happy to send you one. So just let me know and I can get that stuck in the mail to you because we still have a lot of days. And to be honest, what I'm doing right now with some of these cards that I'm working on is trying to figure out which stamp sets I want to feature in my spring retreat. So my winter retreat, I think I have 2 kits left. I've been checking the tracking for everybody because I want to make sure that everybody got their kit. So I do a couple of extras. But you can get online access. The projects are fabulous. The videos are just about done. So you can still sign up to get the online access through February 4th. I also have a couple of other classes, so hop on over to my website and you can see all the classes that I do have. The set I'm going to use today is the bundle Simply Succulent. The stamp set is cute, the words are cute, but really the star of the show is one of the dies. So quick card, quick video, so I can't talk a lot. So I'm going to actually switch the colors up. I've done a prototype card, one of the cards I've already done, and when I was done, I like it. It's pretty, it's beautiful, but I think I'm going to switch some of the order of the cardstock I used to see if I like the second one better. So I have vanilla. It's all the same color cardstock. I'm just going to switch the order. And then I'm going to use the Love Always foils, which is so pretty, and that is in the January to June mini catalog, and that's going to be the large die. And then I'm going to stamp and emboss. Make sure that that's the right size one. Yeah, I'm going to do that on this vanilla piece. And on my other one, I did shimmer white, but I did so much to it that by the time it was over, it didn't need to be shimmer white. And just because it costs a tiny bit more, if you can't see the shimmer, you don't need to use it, right? Because I had so much shimmer back on it that when it was all said and done, it was shimmery on its own. So I'm going to stamp this with a Versamark. This is one of those cards that if you are now to February 2nd, I'm not going to post this today, but you know, we're into February and you're like, well, I have no good Valentine stamps. And you need to send one like to your mom or your sister or your grandma, then you can, this would work for that. It would work for Mother's Day. It would work for a bridal shower. It would work for a wedding card. It's just one of those kind of all around cards. I'm making sure I get this right in the center. And partly because I stuck this on the back, but because I'm filming my retreat, all of my blocks are taken. And then so I've stamped the big block of succulents, and now I've got the little pot. So it's kind of just it's just a really pretty subtle card. So I've got the pot, got the succulents, stamped in Versamark. And I'm going to emboss them in gold, which when I started stamping about 27 years ago, embossing in gold with a red and a green watercolor pencil. That was all I had for probably the first couple of years. Because there wasn't a million zillion things that you could get. And actually when ink colors, when Stampin' Up! First came out with all their ink colored pads, and I was a demonstrator, I thought, I don't know why anybody needs all those colors. I don't think that anymore. Now I need them all. But at the time, you can make it work with just a little bit. In fact, in our retreat, I think we're using 5 ink colors, maybe. So I got that powder on there. Gold's an easy one to see emboss. Just put it all back in here because it's easy to see when it changes colors. Oh, where to put the lid? There it is. So I'm going to heat this up. I'm going to let my gun get hot a second. And then it's easiest if you start from one corner so you can see it change color. It should go from the dusty to shiny gold. And for me to see it and you to see it both is the different angle. So I'm going to try to let you see it, and then I'm going to have to move it so I can see to make sure that it turned. If you wave it all around, especially on a design like this, then sometimes the tips of the flowers they don't get embossed, and then when you go to do your next step, they just wipe off. So every place should be nice and shiny. And if you aim the gun away from you, then there's no danger that you're going to get burnt. And then just, you probably can't see it, but I got to get it in the sun to make sure I've got it everywhere. Our gun has 2 speeds, you can tell. So that's finished. Now we're going to run these things through the dies. I'm going to let that set a second, because anytime you run an embossed image that you just heated through the cut emboss machine, obviously, you know, if something's hot and it presses down on it, then it can smash. So we want it to just cool a second. So here's the beautiful die on this beautiful foil paper, and this is the rose paper. So I'm going to lay it on here, and it works best if you send it through so it doesn't go speed bump. And it is 4 inches, and this is 12-inch paper. So I've cut it just the right size, but I don't need the edges. So if it goes off the edge, that's okay, because the way I designed the card was to allow for the fact that if it doesn't stay quite on there, it's okay. Because I didn't want to give myself an allowance and then use up more cardstock that I want. Now, 95% of the time that I use a die on our machine, I only go through once. But because this one's so detailed, I'm going to go through twice, but I'm not going to let go of it right there, because then it might move. And actually on this card, I like for some of those to stay in there. I don't want them all to fall out, because I like the foil so pretty that I want some of them to stay. So I'm going to carefully hold that together. You can see they're already falling out, but I do want some of them out. I want probably 80% of them to come out. I have a sunflower. We have a really pretty sunflower die that's similar, and sometimes on those I like for them to stay. Make sure that's embossed there. And then these both have dies that are super simple. These are just line them up, cut them out. So just put those on there. The paper's a little bit wobbly because it was heated. So just hold on to the thing, don't let it move. If you hold it with your hand until it grips it, and then they'll stay where you lined them up. So send those through. And then we'll work with these next. So you need a piece of scrap paper, and because we're going to do this in 10 minutes, I'm going to color it quickly. So I have the rose ink. We're going to go pretty much one tone. It's not one tone. So I've got my blender, and I'm just going to get the ink on here. You probably will get your fingers dirty. Just rub it on here. And I want these big succulents to be my darkest ones. So I'm going to aim my first color right on those and then kind of pull it off. You can see these big ones. If you do use your blending brushes a lot, you will need to get a refill because you're sucking that ink right out of your pad. And then when you go to actually stamp with it, you're going to go like, I didn't realize that pink was so light. And then just kind of pull it off on the edges. That way these are a little bit darker and these on the outside are just a little bit lighter. And look at that, that's a whole lot faster than coloring those in. You get just a tad bit more right here in the middle. And then those are done and colored. And then the same thing with the pot. I'm going to pull the color so it's shaded. So right here where my thumb is, I'm just going to keep that a vanilla color. That was the only place on my other piece of cardstock that you could tell it was shimmer paper by the time I was done. I even took it over to the light, and I thought if I have to pay that much attention to see if it's still shimmery, it wasn't worth it to have used the shimmer. Now I want this side to be a tad bit more darker, so it looks like it has some shading. So now I'm just going to pull this over here. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. So that's all of our coloring. Nice and simple. Except I want it to be a little bit shiny. Now I'm going to take, you can use a wink of Stella. I think because I'm going to put a lot on, I'm going to use an empty wink of Stella and this gold, well, it's the Champagne Mist shimmer paint. And on my pot, I'm just going to add one stripe here where it has that like little decorative thing on the pot of shimmer. And then I'm just going to color my flowers. I'm going to try to keep it in the flowers, but the nice thing on this, sometimes when we do this and you have black ink, if you go over the black ink, then it changes the black ink and you'd have to go over either all of it or none of it. But because this is gold, just stay in the flowers, and the gold on the gold doesn't change. You can't see if you miss some of them or not. So it helps in our 10-minute card that you can just swirl this on here. I'm gonna get a whole bunch right there. And it is prettier in real life. I like doing the retreats because as I do the cards, and I'm tempted to say that, I'm like, it's pretty in real life, but pretty soon you're gonna get to see it because they're making them along with me. So there we go. I will put a close-up picture on my website, and I'll try to catch some of the sparkle. But see where I'm hitting that embossing powder? If I did that on black, it would just cover the black up. But on this, it just adds more gold to the gold. So done with that. I opted not to put a sentiment on the front of this because I think I might use it for a Valentine for my mom. But see if you can see the shimmer. I know you can see it a little bit here on the pot because you can see with and without. Super pretty. Now let's go back over this. This is really where I really switched up the colors because my other one's opposite from this, but I thought maybe I could see the foil a little bit more. So you might need to have your paper trimmer if this one stayed in better than my other one. So this is going to make a little bit of a mess. So I'm going to grab my scrap paper again and try to catch and open this back up. And I want some of them to stay. Like I told you, I want some of them to stay. It kind of feels like fabric. But it's hard to pick which ones are going to stay and which ones are going to fall out. So just have some of them stay. Because see, they're pretty in, but you like the lacy pattern's pretty too. So just let some fall and some stay. But once they doing out, then they have to come out because you don't want any to be pokey like that. And I told you it makes a mess. So right here is where my thing is going to be mounted. So I don't have to, whoops, no, they're in my hair. You don't have to be super careful about those. Like I don't have to get all these out right there. That looks good. You just want to make sure that, and like the adhesive sheets on this would be just a giant, really waste of adhesive sheet. If I'm not careful, they're all going to fall out. It's a obsession, you know. It feels like you should be taking them all out. So move this out of the way. If it was just on plain colored cardstock, I would get them all out because I would want the lacy. But for this, I like the way that extra foil, and I do like it on the, this is crumb cake. And my hands do have rose. So now what I want to do is, for the first time that I put this on here, I want to try to aim these places where I know that the there's spots of that, and that will help hold it on as well. So lay it on here. This time I got all of it. If you don't get the edges, I'll show you on my other card, then just put it on, because one of my other ones, I had more on this side, less on this, so this side got hacked off. So I just mounted it like this. I put it in my paper trimmer, and then it just doesn't have these on the sides. So now that it's stuck on here, you can kind of go through. That's stuck pretty well. That's stuck pretty well, because once we get our pot on here, we'll have more to hold it. Right here, there's a little bit where I can stick that down. That's stuck. Put a little bit there. Get a little bit more right there. And then once you get your pot on and everything's mounted, then you can kind of play with it and see if anything else needs to be mounted, and then you can use a glue dot. So let's get this on here. And you can decide, like you could decide that maybe I want this here, wherever you feel the prettiest is for how it came out. Or where you want, which direction you want it to be. So now I'm going to add some linen thread. So this is another thing that's going to help hold this in here. I'll put this here. And because it comes on this spool, you know, if you've ever let it go, it does this doingy thing, which kind of looks like, I have a succulent in my bathroom. My husband's about ready to kill me because it goes literally from the ceiling to the floor, and he's moved it up twice, and our bathroom is all tiled, like everything's tiled, except for the actual ceiling. And so he keeps drilling holes, and it's beautiful. It's a succulent, but it has gone from the floor to the ceiling, and now it's touching the floor. I don't know why it does so well in there. It just likes the environment. But it has tendrils like this in it. So just kind of put those in there and kind of let the natural way that this comes off fall onto that. And then you don't need to stick these together. Just let them stick together once you put them on there. And we're going to do those with some dimensionals. And don't press hard, because if you need to move it, and you haven't pressed hard, you can move it. So that looks good. And again, this is going to help hold anything that it touches. On. So now we've got that. So now I'm not going to do it now, but you can kind of lift up this, and anywhere where it feels like it needs a little bit more, if there's enough space, take a glue dot. This feels like it's pretty good. And then one last little thing that can help hold it on are some champagne rhinestones. They're not quite the same color, but they're in that gold family, especially because we have the gold pigment paint. Well, champagne mist. At one point we had gold, and it was gold. This, I call it gold, but it's champagne. And you can put these over, if you need to, any of the lines to help hold them down. So I'm just going to add 3 of these. Just add an extra little bit of sparkle. So here it is this way. And then when I was done, I thought it could use just a touch of green, but I didn't want green. Like, I want the card to stay rose and gold. And the crumb cake standing in for the gold. So I took my, the very lightest light sea foam that we have, and I just took the brush tip, and then just around these very edges, I just added this faintest little bit. And you don't really want it to touch the embossing, because I've heard, and then sometimes I say it and people say, well, I don't know that that's true. So I don't know if it's true, but I don't want you to ruin your blends if it is true. I've heard that it's not great to color in embossed images with a blend. I don't know. It could just be, you know, if you heard it on the internet, then it's true. Maybe Abraham Lincoln said it. I don't know. But I just added just a slight touch of this green, because that's, you know, some of the succulents are more of the rose color, and then just have that really faint tip of green. So it's just ever so slight. So here's this one, and then I'll show you the one that's opposite colors. They're both pretty. This one you can probably see the green a little bit better because the green gets a little bit lost on the crumb cake. But another super fast card. You could do, like if you were going to make these, if you want to make them for Valentine's or you want to make them for shower invitations or something, and you did several of them at once, like do all the steps at once. Do all of the blending at once, run all of the same pieces through at once, and literally they would not take any time at all. But it's another one of those cards that's really pretty, and people, if they don't know how you did it especially, they're going to think that you slaved away for hours. But we know the secret. So everybody have a great day, and I hope you're enjoying this little series of super quick wow cards. Bye.